My own magical thinking was keeping it at bay. They did a CT scan and they found a 9 centimeter brain tumor on my right side of my brain.
When you would do your sits with ayahuasca, what were you looking for? Did you feel like there was something that would show you that maybe you just didn't see?
I went to Peru because I kind of ran the gauntlet of what they could offer me. And I realized at some point, this medicine that they're offering me is going to kill me in the future.
Yeah.
Well, let me,
Using long, so, well, let me, I want to introduce you, Scott, so that we have a reference when we start the podcast. And I like where this is going already. But for the people listening, we've talked, this is our second time talking. Scott is my personal somatic therapist. And we had a discussion with him about his work. Oh, it might have been, I don't know, a few months ago. And in that conversation, it was mainly somatic therapy. And in this conversation, we're expanding on something we touched on, which was um, the brain cancer that you have lived with for over almost a decade,
yep.
and your journey through, we'll call it alternative healing modalities, and then also traditional Western modalities, surgery, and you're going through some other treatments too at the moment, right? And we can get into that.
Yeah.
And then now, what we're really here to talk about though is um, your journeys through several ayahuasca retreats and ayahuasca as medicine, among I think many other things we'll get into that have been very deep healing practices for you and processes for you. And so I'm really excited to talk about this because you and I have known each other for 3-4 years, and I don't I do all the talking. You know, I don't get to ask you a lot of questions, and we talk, and so I do know what's going on, but I don't get to ask a lot of deep questions and inquiry into what you've experienced and the details of it all. So um, I'm really, I'm really stoked to let you have the floor and to just speak on what you've been through, and maybe you could start us from the beginning of when you first got diagnosed, when that was, and then maybe just tell us the story, move through the last 10 years or so and bring us up to today if you can, just to fill in everybody with what has happened.
Okay. And just to support you guys, I'd like to hear you, Mike, just talk about that the two of you have a vision that I really support. And you guys want to talk about that vision and then we'll dive in.
Q. Um, at TerraForm Projects is the company Mike and I started, years ago, and it's still kind of in its infancy in a sense, but we're here to create and reimagine spaces for healing and what it means to actually heal. And so it's much more than the built environment and designing spaces and creating physical spaces for the healing process to happen, but it's really about redefining and explaining to folks what it actually means to come into contact with true healing, like deep healing at the root, at the core. And we'll get into, I think, a lot of this in our conversation, from where our current system is at, and um, putting more of a Band-Aid on symptoms and not really addressing where these diseases and illnesses are arising. And I think with through TerraForm, that's really what this is about, is going very deep. Um, it's a journey into self. It's a journey inward into self-discovery and authenticity. And that's really where we believe that true healing begins. And I think we'll probably explore that topic quite a bit with what you've gone through. So yeah, thanks, Scott. I appreciate you giving us a little bit of a platform to talk about ourselves.
Yeah, of course. I
And
think it
thank you for your,
segues. I think it segues into what we were talking about at the beginning too, around fear. It seems like creating spaces for healing means helping people create a space where
we help people become aware of their fears. I think that's probably step one. And then surrounding it with a community that will, no matter, I mean, this is the definition of community keeps expanding for me, but building a community where once you realize your fears, you can then start to come to terms with them and feel supported in a way where facing those fears isn't as scary as they were prior to getting to know us or getting to know the people in the community. So just like double clicking on what Brian said, it's not so much about the architecture and the built environment, which we love. I mean, that's one of our favorite things to explore and experiment with, but it's more about the people and um, helping others feel fully supported along whatever journey they're going on so that it's not so scary. Because, like, the shit that happens is much harder by yourself. Um, Feeling alone makes things almost feel impossible. So I think that's kind of the avenue it's evolved into.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had this whole experience one evening where I just was like really on fire with this gift I want to offer to whenever you guys open up your doors and you start your thing and the people that are working there and the patients, whoever, whatever the scene is. But I have this meditation that I've done with several classes, and it's a meditation on, it's a eye contact, with your partner across from you. And I kind of guide this imagination that the person in front of you was once in a mother's womb. And this mother had to labor this person out. And that person in front of you was greeted by family, and everyone was so excited and on and on. And then I go through that journey all the way to death. And the picture I paint is how everyone will grieve and miss this person and tell stories about this person. And even as you're listening, can you feel that feeling in your heart of just grief? And so much of what I do in my practice is I help people grieve, because grief is in the borderlands of love. And we're so scared of that grief as men in this patriarchal, culture, that we're like, I'm gonna pull myself up on my bootstraps. Yeah, fuck that. It's okay to fall apart. In fact, grief actually is a cue to the deep brain that you're safe. When you're running from lions, it's not the time to grieve. It's when you're back home in your hut with your people and you can let go. And that surrendering of grief is the white flag for the human animal body to say, "Ooh, I'm safe." So a lot of my clients who have trauma, it wasn't safe for them to cry. And so that soft animal body underneath all those layers of defense, which are just, they're part of us, right? We don't want to hate those things. They're the things that kind of help us grow and get to the next level, because they're so uncomfortable to be so armored. I like to ask my clients, would you rather wear a medieval armor suit made of metal all day, or feel more liberated and just let feelings move? It's a whole lot more efficient energetically to just be the soft animals we are. And, everyone's like, love and all that stuff. Well, we don't know what love is. We're so fucking guarded and scared of love that we protect ourselves from it. The old, come close, I want to get to know you. We send a lot of mixed signals to each other because we're just so scared of getting hurt again. But once we learn to grieve, then we're a little more fearless. Like, oh, I can sob and I feel better and I can let go. And that is a skill.
Are you saying that if you don't grieve, then you're stuck in a fear response?
Yes. And if we don't grieve, it goes into our bowels. So like IBS. And I mean, I've seen this in paramedic clients who are like in the front lines, cleaning up destruction on highways, and they can't unsee what they've seen. And I told a whole conference once of first responders that crying is as rational as urination. Like, it's just a function of biology. And so when we cry, stress hormones come out of our eyes, And again, it's a signal for the deep brain, the amygdala cerebellum, that we're finally safe, and we're not going to cry until we're safe. And so
Yeah.
I've seen a lot
Wow.
of male clients come in, and the nerves that run to the eyes to allow emotions to move are so, like, it's like stone. And so I do some touch work. Well, I'll touch here and here. And when they start to cry, they're like, their erectile dysfunction issues go away, their IBS goes away. It might
Yeah.
return, but it's a skill, learning to cry, learning to
Yeah.
discharge the charge of all that stuff. So, we charge up, ready, ready to ask for what we need, ready to cry, ready to defend. And when we cry, it softens all that excessive amounts of energy, and we don't have to stay stuck.
Yeah. Yeah. And it
So,
I it opens us up to feeling more like it that wall of that you're talking about, like stand back, I want to be loved, but I'm going to put up my defenses kind of thing. And as you grieve, those walls come down and you start to feel so much more, and you start to feel how much love you've been withholding. You start to feel how much fear you have within you, and you start to feel the pain of what it's like to withhold that love and not to receive that love and not to give that love, right? You feel all that, fuck, this hurts. It hurts.
it,
And then you
it
just
hurts.
want to start crying more and more, letting
Yeah,
it down more and more. I mean, that's so much the work that you and I have been doing. Um, yeah,
it's a skill. Crying is a skill. And as male bodied beings, we have a particular set of programs that we're all given. And it's like, man, fuck those programs.
yeah,
It's those programs are telling us not to be human, not to feel, and not
yeah,
to hurt.
yeah,
But that's the gift of our human heart, is like when we cry, it's like, oh, there's this whole world I haven't been participating in.
yeah,
So that meditation I was talking about earlier just opens everyone up. Usually at the end of the meditation, people are sobbing and they want to hug each other, even though some of them are strangers. But the openness just is a compelling place of wanting to be held and to hold others. The service of our hearts just pours out of the tears. Like, all of us are carrying critters. We just love kitties and babies and soft puppies. You know what? Those are so popular online because we all want to be reminded of our soft animal body.
well, I'm excited to, however, this first meditation retreat, whatever it may be that comes together, I'm excited to do that. I've been thinking about that since you mentioned it. And it just sounds like such an amazing experience. I know you even talked about creating something over a 3 or 4 day experience related to that. And I
To
think
go deeper
it
and deeper.
feels, it feels so humanizing
Yeah.
in such a crazy world right now where it
It's
is so,
it's the
yeah.
the
And
human,
just,
humanizing pieces.
just coming back into contact with what it means to be human on a very, very basic level, but very deep level. I think what you're sharing, what you want to share will be so powerful to a lot of folks. So I've been thinking about it actually quite a bit since you mentioned it. And I'm excited to try to figure out how to put it together somewhere in a future TerraForm project.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The rehumanizing as the medicine of the future,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
on site at TerraForm. I did it for you.
You did find out. I
Oh
told Mike
yeah.
the story.
Yeah.
Yeah, for the viewers, I corrected Scott because he called it terraforma, and he looked at me like, "How dare you correct me?"
Do what I want.
Yeah, I'll do it.
Um,
I'll call it what I
I,
want.
I was I was just putting something together, Scott. I told Brian this personal story, but I'll tell you too. Relating to the expression of grief releasing fear, and we talked about this. I was separated a year and a half ago and got divorced almost a year ago, And I thought that after all the chapters were closed and all the paperwork was done, that I would just start to feel lighter and better. And that just didn't happen. And there was plenty of grief to be expressed throughout the entire process. Like, I think I'm somewhat skilled at grieving, and it happens pretty freely with me. I went to this yoga class, and at the end of it, when you're just laying on your back, chilling, I just started getting emotional. It was like a class full of, I didn't think I felt that safe. It was just a class full of people I didn't know, but I was just sitting there laying. It must have been safe enough because I was just like, started to like sob, like laying there. I'm like, partly not wanting it to happen, but I was just like, you know what? It's fine. I'm going to be down here for a minute, chilling. No one's going to see me. And I just had this like release in the yoga class, and I started listening, right? Like, why am I crying right now? Like, I didn't process anything. And, of course I did, but nothing was top of mind. And then I realized I was grieving, releasing the responsibility of providing or being the main source of well-being for my ex-wife. I had always wanted to make sure that she was taken care of, like financially, emotionally, mentally, spiritually. Like, I felt like that was my job, and it probably wasn't. Like, I think it was always a healthy thing for me, even when we were married, just to have taken on the role of promoting her well-being and caring and rooting for her, but not like taking that job of making sure that she is that. And so it wasn't until that moment that I was like, I'm not ever responsible for that. Like,
Wow.
she can be the only one responsible for that. And
Totally.
after that release, like, I honestly have felt 10 years younger. Like, the fear, and you were describing the fear, like my sympathetic nervous system was just always switched. And until that moment, like, it just came way down, maybe off, I don't know, but I just regained, the energy of my body 10 years ago. And I just am like able to tackle and approach life. And I'm just like, oh yeah, that explains it. Like, I was just stuck in a fear response. I had no idea.
And just notice the thing you said that I thought was so important is you listen. And so notice how grieving pulls us into ourselves, which is the source of all healing, is to go back in and to listen. And we're all in conflict with ourselves and at odds with who we think we should be and who we are. And so much of this world just breeds sickness because it's antagonistic against the human heart. And so good work, Mike, for just listening and dropping all the self-consciousness of being in a room full of yoga people and how much better they are than you. And you're crying with what is like, I mean, I know how it is to do yoga and go in and everyone's like wearing tight pants and like, whoa,
You don't wear tight pants.
I gotta perform right. And so much of our world is so caught in performance and competition that you go into the yoga room and everyone there is way better than you.
Yeah.
Yeah. My downward dog makes your downward dog look shitty. You got your downward dog at a pound, just like, it's just, but that's the world we live in. Our education system is like, you got to beat everyone. And so humanity and that feeling we were talking about earlier is there's hardly room in it in our bodies because we're in competition with each other. We can't let down our guards, God damn it, or we might fail the performance. So performance puts us on this scale that we're not allowed to make mistakes. We're allowed to be imperfect. Performance is a stiffness. Oh, I do yoga way more than you.
Yeah.
But and then our identities get fixed on this power trip of being better. And then next thing you know, we're out in the world and I'm like way better at being liberal than you are. Or I'm better at anything. I'm a better beer maker than you, or whatever it is in our little cultures that we live in.
You're a better griever than me.
Yeah. Oh, that's not how it's
cried
going to.
so much today. I'm so jealous.
We're going to twist it so hard where it's like
his
eating
grief.
for grief.
He let go of so much grief today, and I'm so jealous.
That would be the future grief competition.
Yeah. That'd be an all right one.
I mean, it's an okay. Are we kind of headed in the right direction? I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit if we head that way. Yeah, kind of. So, okay, Scott, I want to get to your story. This is why we need more time for all these podcasts, Scott, because we can just talk and talk.
They might be just a series of conversations.
Hey, that works too. Yeah. I could take that.
I love sitting with the two of you because you're both so different, and yet you're twins, and yet you're so different, and it's awesome.
Oh, can you have our parents say that?
You could ask your parents. Can you
I'm
see
just kidding.
than Brian?
Yeah. We're not the same. Yeah.
God damn it. Yeah, we should have more. However it comes about, 30 minutes an hour and whatever works. Yeah.
Never texted my client to come 15 minutes late, but I will do that.
Okay.
Who are you texting at the beginning?
I was just like getting my phone set up for
Preparing to text.
Okay, here we go. Okay, so brain cancer. Should we dive into it?
Yeah.
Okay, so when my oldest son was in the womb, I started having I'm a runner and I'd go on runs, and all of a sudden I'd have these weird events where I would like be confused in my thoughts. Like was that a dream thought? Did I dream this? And I was just really confused. And then I'd have this intense impulse to take a shit. Come to find out later, those were seizures. And I was having them all the time. I looked at the seizures through the lens of my work. I thought I was just like moving a lot of energy, and it was just going this way that I had never experienced before. And then one day when this is like my son is like 3 at the time. He's born, and no more seizures or headaches. I was holding him, and I just dropped to one knee holding him. Like I just lost my body. He was safe. He told my wife, and she was like, huh. And then like a year later, my second child is in the womb, and I had this profound headache, like a migraine that was like the worst LSD trip ever. Just like crazy migraine. And so my second son's in the womb, and so my wife's like, okay. And of course, at the time, I'm like, I'm a pretty arrogant, bullheaded kind of human. And so I'm like, let's go acupuncture. I've got an appointment. She's like, no, we're going to the ER. I'm like, fuck all that. And so, because I had basically kept my brain tumor at bay with a combination of wheatgrass juice shots and acupuncture for like 10 years. And I started riding my bike to work. And so I was able to just keep all those symptoms at bay for 10 years.
So before your children, this is before your
My
kids
second.
were born. Okay, so like 10 years leading up to your second, but you didn't know that you had the tumor at the time, of course. So
I was just like wheatgrass juice shots,
Yeah.
acupuncture. This is just a weird spiritual event that doesn't make sense, but I'm doing my best to make sense out of it.
Yeah, okay.
And so when my second child was in the womb and was having profound, like I was vomiting, migraines, that, and I was just pretty bad. She's like, okay, we're going to the ER. And I'm like, and I actually had an acupuncture appointment that day. I was like, oh, let me just get a wheatgrass juice shot.
Yeah.
In denial. And so my own magical thinking was like keeping it at bay. And so I was like, okay, I'll go for you because you're pregnant and I get it. And they did a CT scan and they found a 9-centimeter brain tumor on my right side of my brain. It looked like a giant eggplant. I was like, oh God.
That's like a grapefruit to like a big orange. Like that's
Great eggplant. It was kind of shaped like an eggplant.
So it's like kind of elongated.
centimeters. So it
Wow.
was kind of fat at one end.
Oh my gosh.
The hardest part was my wife's grief when the doctor came in. And so the on-call, like neuro-oncologist came in, was like, a brain surgeon, but I can get this out. He's like, get your shit in order and set a schedule for brain surgery. So my first brain surgery was like October 19th of 2014. And like shortly after, it was 2016, sorry. And then in January, my second son was born right after that surgery. Actually was doing you guys know what's that protocol, the THC protocol to treat cancer. It's like CBD oil.
Okay. I'm not
Oh,
familiar with it.
It's called RSO, which is short for Rick Simpson oil.
Oh yeah.
And I've had several friends, like an elder friend of mine had lung cancer, and he did the protocol. And it's this oil that's just like ganja, just like intense. And so you take 90 grams for 90 days. And after that, after my surgery, I did it after my surgery. So I wasn't a real like capable on-call human.
Yeah.
So
You were like in a different world for 3 months.
I wasn't ever, it never sort of seemed to become psychoactive unless I dosed myself, where my wife would dose me and be like, oh, I'm going to sleep. But when I dosed myself, I would wake up at 2 a.m, wah, 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 wah,
Yeah.
Yikes. So my next after that surgery, so everything was stable, nothing's growing. I'm like, phew. I wanted to work because I was the breadwinner, and I wanted to like keep providing. And I had this brand new baby and a 3-year-old. And, I love my family. Just, they're so sweet. And then everything was fun. And I did a whole lot of alternative healing, went to a naturopath, and they sent me up to Canada, where like the experts of a naturopathic approach to brain cancer. And then they had me going up to Canada to get this, what's called modified electrohypothermia, where they heat the tumor up. And the theory is that when you heat the tumor up, it changes the outer configuration of the cancer cells so that your body can identify it as something to attack. So it's a boosting of the immune system. And then, and I couldn't really drive, so I had to organize rides everywhere. And I was making cookies for all my drivers because I just was so grateful. So I had this really sweet cookie.
So with your surgery, how much of the tumor did you get out?
Oh, at the time, I think he said something like, the surgeon, who was not a brain surgeon, said, well, when you can't tell the difference between tumor and tissue, you don't touch it. He was really committed to making sure my functioning was still protected. And so I actually came out of that surgery really just sluggish, but pretty high functioning.
Okay.
I would
Right.
go for runs.
So the alternative treatments you were seeking were just management of the existing.
After that first surgery.
Yeah. And just to clarify that I knew this, but just for everyone listening, it was a cancerous tumor.
Yeah.
As opposed to benign. My wife's was a benign tumor. So I just clarify that. Was it spreading? Did it metastasize? And
didn't go into the rest of my body, but when I started doing the alternative healing approach, which is like infusions of vitamin C through the veins, and I did that for pretty consistently, which really kept it at bay. And then I started doing the bigger treatments, going up to Canada and then going down to Seattle to the Ames Institute, which is an integrative health institute. And I was doing these huge bags of curcumin coming straight in the veins.
what is it? Cute. What?
It's called curcumin. It was like like cumin. It was like a plant-based version in a liquid form, and straight in the veins. And I did that with the Canada trip for a while. Then MRI I had after that, my radiologist called me. He's like, "Oh shit, Scott, I would hate for you to wake up and not be able to swallow, walk, or eat soon." It was falling into my brainstem. The cancerous tumor.
Your tumor was okay.
And I had interviewed um, one of like the race car surgeons in Seattle at Fred Hutch, Dr. Coe, and he does like 3 to 15 brain surgeries a week. So I was like, whoa. And when I told him what my original doctor had said about, touching, if you can't tell the difference between tumor and tissue, you don't touch it. He's like, yeah. He was like, there's a real clear. I was like, okay, this guy's got his hands and brains.
So when did you? This was recently, like
That was in like 2000 and maybe after COVID, so 2021, 2022.
Okay. All right. Okay.
And then doing all that alternative stuff for a long time. It was expensive, logistically difficult because I'm not driving. And so when I heard that, I called Fred Hutch and told the doc, okay, let's do the deep brain surgery with the pro. And I didn't want to, but it's like, I don't want to die and I don't want to be the dad that can't walk and can't swallow.
Yeah.
So I was really resistant to that. And I had several moments where like the tumor would surge and I would like, at one point, I looked like a stroke victim because all that alternative work was working according to them because of my brain tumor was swelling. And so I came home and like lost the whole left side of my face. I was eating and food falling out of my mouth. My best friend and his son came over and they still laugh about how I was running into everything. I mean, I was like, and I've always been a body guy, just a somatic guy. And so I'd always kind of poo-pooed the mind and the brain, but not anymore. Now I'm like, oh, that's what the brain does. Holy shit. I have experiential evidence on what it does.
Yeah. Wow. So it was, the alternative practitioners were saying it was actually kind of working. The swelling was a good thing.
Yeah.
And your radiologist and the Western doctors, the surgeons were saying, yeah, you should probably get this taken care of.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay.
And that was July of last year. So, but when I first interviewed Dr. Coe, he was like, I was going to put titanium plates in your head. And I was like, I had done ayahuasca before, but it was at that moment I was like, I left his office and I was freaking out because I'm like, I don't want a fucking brain surgery.
Yeah.
Again, even if it's a pro, like I just don't want to. And so I started reaching out to my ayahuasca connections and just started drinking the medicine. And it didn't necessarily not help. It just didn't cure it. But that's kind of what opened me up to that path. My client wants to know what time to show up, so I'm going to tell her 10. How about 10:45? That work for you guys?
Yeah. Well,
or 10:50?
Even better. More time with you, the better, Scott. But
okay, 10:50.
We know you got. Okay. So the I guess the fear of going into surgery again, or the resistance of surgery, really pushed you to looking at ayahuasca again.
Totally.
And so you started doing that. Were you waiting for a surgery date, or were you like, no, I'm not doing surgery?
I just actually put the surgery off for a while. I just waited. I talked to all the people who pour the medicine. Was like, hey, I've got brain cancer. Just so you know, I want to come and ask the medicine to help me out. And they were like, okay. But they were all a little scared because brain cancer is one of those things that's just scary for all of us because the brain's a mystery and the medical world doesn't really understand the brain. And, so all that to be said, did a bunch of ayahuasca just to kind of start opening myself up to the deeper levels, had some good cries, but I never really was able to like go into it. I was also doing some other medicine work with some local indigenous communities, and had a lot of prayers and a lot of help. And my family needed a lot of help, so there's a meal train because I just wasn't functioning in my at that level that I was used to. I
Yeah.
was still seeing clients and still teaching college, and I was doing all the things that I do. I needed an income, and had the surgery, and that surgery was I lost my left eyesight, so I can't see. They call it a visual field cut, so I can't see out of in a like real triangular band in my left side. So I don't drive anymore. I take paratransit everywhere, which is like I call it the short bus. So I'm riding with all the people who can't drive, and it's I've actually met some really good people and made some good friends on there because I talk to everyone.
Yeah.
Just the kindness of the world, caring for the disabled.
Yeah. When you were going to the when you would do your sits with ayahuasca, what were you what were you looking for? Did you feel like there was something that was showing you that that it would show you that maybe you just didn't see, or what do you
Uh, I'm still working on it, but a lot of what I was drawn to is that it broke the blood-brain barrier because I'm a science geek and I've studied the indigenous plant world extensively, and so I knew that ayahuasca could break the blood-brain barrier.
Okay.
And so I thought, okay, if chemo and all the standard medicine can't break the blood-brain barrier, maybe ayahuasca can. And so I was just kind of going that way. But then after my last surgery, I lost more functioning than I had ever lost the eyesight. I couldn't drive anymore. And was like, started drinking medicine with someone else. This person got me connected to a local connection in Peru. And so I was like, I'm going to go work with the maestros, the masters of these plant beings. And so I went to a small village in Peru. Everyone there spoke Shipibo. And these people worked on me. And it wasn't necessarily the ayahuasca as much as their just kind of innocent holiness and their prayer and their listening to plants. And so at one point, this old grandma just thought she wanted to help me, or she was listening to plants on her walks. And she gave me a particular plant every day and said, "For your cabeza." And so I drank this plant every day. And, they just have a purity and an innocence in their sort of isolated reality. And I do think that that helped because when I came back, since then, my MRIs have been the best I've had in 10 years. No growth. In fact, the tumors are shrinking. And my work with my clients has changed dramatically in that I'm less of a technician and more guiding people in, opening the channels of the emotional body and then guiding them into their deepest selves and helping people realize they aren't their thoughts, aren't that storyteller narrative self. There's something much deeper, much wider, much broader. And, you know, at this point, I still don't know why I have the brain tumor, other than I'm part of a collective awakening, maybe. I'm hoping that I took a hit so that I can share this with you guys and whoever else sees it. I
Yeah.
mean, I have some deeper theories that I'm still quite not ready to share just because I'm not quite sure inside myself if they're true.
Yeah.
I'm still cleaning out my own magical thinking from like what's real. And, magical thinking just shows up in that terminal diagnosis. But I have had a lot of interaction with the medical industry, and I'm really impressed with how much authentic care they have, but also how diminished they are by that care. Like I went to Peru because I kind of ran the gauntlet of what they could offer me. And I realized at some point, this medicine that they're offering me is going to kill me in the future. I can feel that intuitively.
Yeah.
And so I was like, I need to get the fuck out of this paradigm. So I went to Peru.
That was the thing that really struck me too with when Paula was going through her surgeries and her brain tumor. There was so much love and there's a lot of skill, especially with the surgeons. The surgeon that Paula had was doing, 3 or 4 surgeries a week as well. And it's just like, they're excellent at that. Very good at it, very skilled. But their answers to the questions, the deeper questions of why is this happening? And will it come back? And the answers are so empty. There's nothing there. They really don't know. They give a lot of possibilities. Well, it could be this, it could be that, but they really don't understand what they're doing. And the methods are quite archaic and crude, imagining basically cracking into your skull and cutting out, cutting out.
Enemy out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
Another thing, like I had an ER doc said, you can't cure this, because part of the reason I was in the ER is because I was doing all that alternative treatment. And I'm like, man, fuck you. What about placebo? What about a positive attitude? And I'm not saying that's going to just wisp away this, but like I had so many neurologists say I should get on disability and to me, that's like a death sentence. Like, well, you might as well just give up and not participate in humanity. I'm like, fuck you. No way. So
Like hell no. Man. Like I'm in the business of healing. You got to stay engaged and stay stubborn and determined. And I didn't want to be an asshole to these people, but at some points I just had to be like, this is my body. This is my life. I'm going to fucking do what I want. I don't care if you're the expert of this and this and that. I'm the expert of me. Just can stay out of my journey with your negative. It's like, like these are
those words are so powerful. Those negative words, especially when people are outsourcing their authority to the professionals, that can be, it is a death sentence in a lot of cases.
But all of them, good people in their white coats, and I could feel their hearts and their longing for me to live. But I also had to make my own way, and I'm okay with that. This is where I'm excited for what you guys are doing, is because you might offer something with TerraForm that won't, people that learn to listen to the client. Because what if the client is on a sacred journey to transform their whole life, and that they have to go through this disease portal, not because they're assholes or because they did the wrong thing, but because we're becoming, and that healing is sometimes just a part of becoming. So I definitely think I'm becoming, and that this cancer is part of that becoming.
That's so important. And it makes me emotional thinking about, Paula going through what she went through and feeling like there's something wrong with her, that she did something wrong. It breaks my heart just thinking about it.
So much shame with cancer and disease.
And it's like, oh, I should have known. I could have done something differently. It's my fault for not even realizing this was coming. And she couldn't have done anything. And that mindset, I think, is very normal in our society, right? Of like, I'm broken and what do I need to fix myself?
It's interwoven to our whole society. We're so ashamed to cry. We're so ashamed to need. And I felt a lot of that with the doctors, but
what you're saying is becoming, right? Is instead of I'm broken, I need to be fixed. It's no, I'm expanding into something new.
Totally.
I'm becoming something greater. I'm stepping into something that I haven't been before, and that I maybe was meant to be. This is part of the journey. This is part of why I'm here in this reality, was to become something new through this very difficult scenario. And you're saying, I don't know what I'm becoming, in a sense, right? It's process. And
I'm still unpacking
Yeah.
from this. I wouldn't say I'm healed, but I feel more relief and less stress to survive because my MRIs have all come back better than the last fucking 10 years. So I
Yeah,
feel
that's
better.
amazing.
And I'm appreciating the way I'm working with my clients, and they seem to appreciate it. So
Even the things, the work we did yesterday, I had a session with Scott yesterday, and it was something new, a little, you created it. I don't know where it came from and what inspired it, but um, I've definitely seen that in you, the new visions, new ideas, the meditation you spoke about. There's these new things that you're bringing in. And I told you yesterday, the experience I had was unlike any experience I've ever had in life, and far beyond any, therapy session that we've had together. So you are bringing in some new things that I think are really beautiful. And
thank you.
maybe maybe that's part of this journey, that you've been on for the last 10 plus years. Maybe not, but either way, there's, I see these changes in you, and there's a new excitement in you too that I've noticed around this creation of new ways to help people. Yeah. You're on mute, Scott. Oh, Scott went to mute.
Yeah.
You muted yourself.
Hear me now?
Now, here we go.
Okay. Yeah, I came to this work as a somatic psychotherapist as a client. And so as I was feeling so much more emotionally liberated, I was like, I want to help. And I'm sincere about that, helping humans. And I've always had this vision of helping the collective because, I watch the news and I'm just, and I'm very sensitive to the collective mind. And so I want to help the psychotherapy field expand to the collective body. And that I do, I'm working more and more with my mind and listening to different teachers about the mind because, like I said, before my cancer, I was like, fuck the mind, because the dominant form of therapy that's offered in America is called CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. Reframe, change your thought, it's all here. And in my own body awakening, I'm like, there is so little going on here, and there's so much more that I'm receiving in my intelligence from my wholeness. And so that's shaped how I teach at the college. That's shaped how I work with my clients. And so I want to support people becoming more whole because the body is the cosmos. It's the planets. It's the entire cosmos, and just how fucking amazing. And so if the cosmos is evolving and my brain cancer is part of that becoming, and I'm starting to work more with the mind, but the mind is the eye. And that's what we were doing yesterday, is just like, what happens when we expand our mind past the narrow of intentionality and getting work done and doing the things that we have to do. And then we go to the peripheral, and it's like all of a sudden there's a larger mind available.
Yeah. When you're saying that, you said the eyes are the mind.
Yeah.
And
So I'm
when I
not
hear,
I'm not a mind reader. When my
yeah,
clients sit here, I watch their eyes, and when they're
Mhm.
thinking, their eyes are just full of tension. And I'm like, yeah, notice your mind at work in the tension of your own eyes. And it's not about not thinking. It's just about not thinking at a level that you're like,
Mhm.
that it doesn't help the nervous system to have hard, stiff eyes, when what's anxiety but stored energy that can't move out, and Brian, what's great about working with you is like, you're such a deep, sensitive being. And when we first started, it didn't have an outlet. Now you just lay down, we get your eyes moving, and it's moving because your eyes are so loose and open. So imagine that our whole nervous system is designed to move energy through the eyes, less anxiety, less stored up tension, and just more openness. And so I'm learning how my clients' eyes work and how my eyes work through the mind, and how softening the eyes softens the mind, and how softening the mind translates to just everything. And then the soft mind can go to the soft heart and the soft gut. And it requires a certain amount of flexibility to tolerate and to survive the storms of insanity we're seeing on our planet right now.
Yeah.
So that flexibility in the system is like, we're all going through it and it's hard. And so softening shoulders, but it starts at the eyes, soften the eyes, soften the mouth. Oh, soft heart.
I feel like you're tapping into something very, very deep. You always hear the saying, the eyes are the gateway to the soul.
Totally.
And I've never connected the eyes to the mind in that way. And there's so much new research coming out now, and it's really fascinating, the study of consciousness and the idea that consciousness and the mind, in a sense, are more fundamental than the physical body.
Yeah, totally.
And so I'm just putting this together now, but you're talking about this gateway into the soul, which is kind of like a gateway into consciousness
Totally.
through the eyes and the work that you do with the eyes.
What if we're also lonely, not because of the disconnect of the computer world, but also the disconnect of self? I can't connect with you if I'm not connected to me. The self is the bridge across the gap, the space between us. And the moment we connect, we're in a shared cosmic. And the cosmos is less lonely. What if the cosmos has instilled in all of us a longing, like plants long for the sun, so they reach? And that same longing shows up in us as reaching with the eyes, not just for what we want, but for each other. And at this time, we need each other more than ever. There's enough serotonin in reaching in our collective psyche to create a revolution. But that revolution isn't a change of paradigms. It's a revolution of the heart. Martin Luther King said in his I Have a Dream speech, we need to learn how to love. Love isn't just this thing that we get to sit back and read a Hallmark card and be like, lucky kitties, I just love it. Love is like really difficult because it takes a certain amount of self-honesty and self-reflection. Like, I'm still learning about my entitlement. I'm learning about my entitled male body and how much I think I need and deserve from the females in my world, and how it's taxing. And so I'm really trying to own that and soften so that I have more to give to females and my connections with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow.
With that entitled white maleness, I'm a hungry ghost. And that's a lot for a female to bear. And I could collapse in shame and guilt and all those things for not being perfect, but fuck all of that.
I actually had a conversation with my wife last night about that, just about being a female in this world. And I shared an experience with her that I had, I was just feeling very uncomfortable in an environment where there was, I'll also say this, but there was a lot of men that didn't know I was straight around me. And it was like, I could feel the intensity of their gaze, their stares. It was, I don't know if you've ever been in a situation like that, but you can, it flips on you. We're like, oh my gosh, I feel the intensity of how guys go after women at a bar or even in anywhere. Right. And so I had an experience like that actually, after our session yesterday, and it was intense. Yeah. I'll tell you that later, but, and I was just telling Paul, and I'm like, God, I just had another moment where I just really felt so much compassion for all women that go every single day with that. And it's not just at a bar. It's not in the dating environment. It's everywhere.
Let me just throw in this piece. So many of my male clients need to learn to stop. My female clients need to learn to rage.
Yeah.
And so many female clients that when they really open up to their rage and they let it move, no more anxiety. And that realization, I'm like, oh my God, my female clients are not safe without that power in their belt.
Yeah.
Because it's predator prey. And as men, we have to learn to be more responsible for that prey part of us, that part of us that wants to just take,
Yeah.
and own the female.
I think being in a small town and recently single has put it into a big perspective. Being in a big city where you meet someone and you might not see them ever again has I shouldn't say this for everyone, but there's a loss of true community because you're seeing this person as, I don't know if disposable is the right word, but perhaps just like,
totally right.
I'm fulfilling something for myself and maybe it's helping the other person too. But, you know, short, intimate exchanges in small towns aren't a thing. They're always long term, and you always have to think about the person as an entrenched part of your community. And I'm like, that's how it should always be. Like, there should never, maybe not always, but I think in a healthy society, remembering that this person is always going to cross your path and will always be a part of your life in some way or another is the best way to approach it.
And some of the things I say at the college students, I say this as a PSA, public service announcement. Be careful who you kiss and who you sleep with, because that's one of the most ancient social primate bonding rituals. It's glue. Whoever you kiss, you're gluing yourself to. And you want to be careful who you glue yourself to, because it might be hard to unglue. We are just that way, like a forest, and how trees bond with their roots to hold each other. And there are people who we can hold each other with, but there are people that are not okay for us to hold ourselves with, like you've experienced, Mike. You know, it's like, it takes a while to discern what's toxic for your body, mind, and what's not. And that's just part of maturation and the force of evolution in the cosmos.
Yeah.
And it's like, we can't deny it. We're part of it.
Yeah. You doing something too early, engaging intimately with someone too early could be
Totally dangerous.
stunting something magical or derailing something that wasn't, you could have some other intended relationship with this person that's entirely different than maybe a short-term gain. And so going slow into those relationships,
Conversations reveal so much. And so I think that the future of dating is just like, people need to stop hiding in the dating apps and start having conversations.
Yeah.
But conversations are difficult. And so much of, I have a few clients in their 20s, and I just love their honesty and how awkward they feel. And I'm like, we all need to get more tolerant, risk tolerant of being awkward. Awkward is the brain's acknowledgement that you're doing something new. It's always awkward to do something new.
Yeah.
That's the brain going, well, I don't do that anymore. And we humans are like crack addicts to the familiar. And we just become like robots in that familiarity. I know what I'm doing because I did it before. I did this before. I did this before. And that's where the somatic work just shakes up all that familiarity. And all my clients are awkward in here. And I'm like, good. That means we're doing something new. That's why you're here. And I think our world needs to have a big fucking dose of tolerance so that we can have more integrity with our government, with each other, and more honesty. Not honesty that's like, well, I fucking, that's just like rude honesty, but honesty that's like, yeah, I'm really scared and I'm really vulnerable and I don't like it, but I'm learning to be more tolerant of my vulnerability.
Yeah. That's so true. Being awkward. Being awkward is a sign of where growth is happening.
It's the end.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to go here pretty soon, guys, but,
That's been awesome. I was just going to ask you, is there anything you want to share with folks, a message?
Well, let's get our calendars together and make a 3-day rehumanizing event. And I want the people that come to be committed to the 3 days, because imagine doing this meditation 3 days in a row and then meditating in that humanity. It'll just go deeper and deeper and deeper.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. 3 days seems like the bare minimum.
Totally. and a minimum of like, 10 to 14. Thanks for having the conversation. We'll continue it, and we'll all continue to evolve and grow.
Yeah, that's right.
Thanks so much, Scott. This has
Thank
been
you.
so fun.
Yeah.
Hey, thanks for sharing your story. And until next time, we'll do more.
For asking. Thanks for being such good men. I appreciate being in the world with knowing you guys.
Oh, appreciate it.
Likewise.
Much love.
Much love. Let's see you.
All right. See you later.
Bye, Scott.